Hi, everyone. This is Gary Berman from the Cyber Hero Adventure Show, bringing you a very special opportunity to listen and learn from one of the most informed people on the military aspect of geopolitical events around the world, retired Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery. Hey, Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gary, thank you for having me back.
So in the previous episode, we talked about Ukraine and Russia. And so now we're going to address China, Taiwan, and what's going on over there. What's your take?
Well, thanks for asking. As I've mentioned before, I go to Ukraine a couple of weeks every quarter, and I do the same with Taiwan. In Ukraine, I'm training there, providing training to them pro bono. In Taiwan, it's more about working with them because they're not in an active war on how do you deter China. And so deterring China is a complex issue, right? So China believes Taiwan is part of a one China policy. The United States, while acknowledging that the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing are China for the purpose of the United Nations and other issues and is the sovereign country in this, does not believe that China should be able to integrate Taiwan via coercion. So we have something called the Taiwan Relations Act. So the United States has said, we'll support Taiwan with arms sales. And by the way, we're the only country in the world that sells arms to Taiwan. So they build their arms indigenously or buy them from us. That's a problem for them when we don't have weapons available to sell because our defense industrial base is slow. But we also said we will make plans so that if China tries to coercively reintegrate Taiwan, we could militarily intervene. So that's two different aspects that have to work together. So the United States has to be strong to provide a deterrent effect to say to China, if you try to integrate them coercively, we will intervene. And then the Taiwan has to be strong that says, if you begin to conduct operations against us, whether they're cyber or a cross-strait invasion or missile attacks or a blockade, that we can hold you at bay till the United States comes up to support us. And then the weird thing is, their two and our two, that 2 + 2 needs to be coordinated so it equals 4 or 5. Right now, because we did 42 years of no exercises with them from 1980 to about 2023, so 43 years, we did no exercises with them. So we're actually 2 + 2 = 3. So I'm over there trying to help to say, look, how do we, and we're trying to help in 3 areas. One, what are the right things that the Taiwan military needs to be buying in order to do their best against a Chinese lodgement? If the PLA came over and grabbed some territory and tried to take over Taiwan, through a cross-strait invasion. That's the first area I look at, how to make the Taiwan military better, giving them advice and things. The second one is, how do we exercise together? How do I work with how does the U.S. military system work with the Taiwans? I mean, we're creating something from scratch. And I worked closely with the Japanese as we kind of moved from being deconflicted, barely working together, to coordinated, to integrated over my naval career. So I try to bring some of those same skill sets, to Taiwan as we try to make 2 + 2 = 4, 2 + 2 = 5. And the final thing we take a look at there is, how do we improve the societal resilience? What if China just tries a financial, or what we call a cyber-enabled economic warfare campaign, where they use financial tools. They cut off energy supplies, they take out communication systems with anchor cable drops and things, and then do cyber attacks. That could really bring Taiwan to its knees if they don't get support from the United States and Europe, and Japan, while it's happening. So we kind of do tabletop exercises to show how can we mitigate this? How can we make better preparations to prevent, respond to, or recover from these kind of attacks by China? So that's a lot of work going on in Taiwan. And so I've been there twice in the last month and a half, but normally it's about once a quarter to kind of work with them on that, because we consider them a beleaguered democracy, like Ukraine, like Iran, like the Republic of Korea, facing an authoritarian regime. And here at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, our goal is to help these beleaguered democracies when they're under the gun of an authoritarian state. Who, by the way, those 4 authoritarian states, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, are acting in a much more integrated way. We call them the axis of aggressors.
Yeah, axis of aggressors. Yeah, and plus, just one point, a follow up on Taiwan. not to mention the reliance on chip manufacturing and artificial intelligence and everything that's going on in that space.
That's a great point. Taiwan is not like Ukraine, or even, it's more like, it is we have a deep economic integration issue with them. They produce the high-end chips. They produce 70% of the world's logic chips. By the way, Korea produces the memory chips. Israel produces a lot of the software to drive all this. So, all three of these countries are very integral to our economy, but the Taiwan one's probably the most, through a company called Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, TSMC. One of the weird ironies, Gary, that your audience may not have captured, was that the TSMC chief executive officer was in Washington at the White House speaking with the president to announce $100 billion direct investment in the United States over the next 4 years, which is a big, huge investment from an economy their size. And someone might ask, why was it the chairman of the company, not the president of the country? We don't let the president of the country visit the president. We don't let the vice president visit. We don't let the minister of defense visit. So that TSMC, business leader was the physical manifestation of the Taiwan people and the Taiwan leadership in our White House announcing this deal. That's a big deal. And that's the kind of thing that should make us, I hope makes us, much more likely to collaborate and cooperate with them. So they are a close economic partner. They are a true ally, and they're a kindred spirit. They're a true democracy practicing capitalism. They're proof that China could have done it right, but the Chinese Communist Party chose the authoritarian communist route and did it wrong.
Well, so as we're wrapping up here, that's, very optimistic, and I appreciate that. And any other sort of seeds of hope that you can share with the audience?
So I think, the goal here, I have a son on a ship in Japan. I don't want war, right? I want a peaceful resolution. I want to be able to deter China from going to war. So our goal here is to deter China. Every morning when President Xi wakes up, or Chairman Xi wakes up and he looks in the mirror, he says, not today. Not today, because the United States and Taiwan and Japan are too much for my forces. The day he doesn't believe that is the day he starts that cyber-enabled economic warfare campaign to see if he can get Taiwan peacefully, and if he doesn't, escalate it to war. It's our job that when he looks in that mirror, he says, not today. And the way you do that is you deter somebody, you have the right forces, the right posture, your allies have the right forces, the right posture, and you integrate together so that 2 + 2 = 5.
How does our audience get more information on the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. We're on X and others, but, www.ftd.org, and you can look up, you can go into our China section, into the cyber section, into our Russia section, and you can read mine and the other scholars here's writing on it. We are pretty prolific. We publish, as a group, we publish 1 or 2 op-eds a day. We put out significant policy papers. But the most important thing is we're not just a think tank, we're a do tank. We get more legislation done. We have a action arm that takes our ideas, we write legislation, they go push it through. I can spend a percentage of my time pushing through legislation. We go to the executive branch. I just met with the Department of Defense on this. I've met with the NSC within the last week, and the Department of Energy and the Department of Homeland Security. So across any administration, we're deeply integrated. We're seen as honest brokers, and tend to provide pretty honest answers for these issues.
And if I'm not mistaken, to build on that point, your CEO, I was at a meeting once with you and your colleagues, and I think you said we don't just think, we do shit.
Yes.
Which I think is a really good way to describe that.
We're a do tank, not a think tank. I think
indeed. Well, on behalf of a grateful digital universe, Mark, thanks so much for who you are and what you do and why you do it. And to our audience, stay tuned for more in this ongoing series, because it seems to me like there's a lot more to listen and learn about from retired Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery.